Hi, folks. Welcome to another video. You know, sorry. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, when or wherever you may be. I like to greet people, just like I like to say thank you and goodbye and hello. Now, what we are witnessing right now, in many aspects, in regards to the United States of America's exterior policy, is we are witnessing a superpower uh, calling out calling out the legionnaires to come back to Rome, to come back to their homeland, because there's a lot of factors in this. There's a factor of failed attempt to blackmail the allies to enter in the superpowers war. And there's also one factor that a lot of American YouTubers don't like to talk about, but that I will talk about because I am European and annoying, which is this is an empire that is shrinking by the moment and that is reducing their overseas advanced posts. Because let me just talk about this. We have to breathe in and talk about this very calmly so that everyone understands. Or if there's a bit of wind in the in my mic or something like that, well, folks, I'm sorry, but it's about 35 degrees outside. It's extremely hot, and I don't have AC because I'm European. But maybe because I never needed to have an AC up until now. I'm even considering buying one because these heat waves are going to become a current event, and I already detest the heat, so I either immigrate to some cooler place that I cannot do, at least not right now, or I have to deal with the heat. However, I can deal. But let's go back to the stream to the video, to the subject of the video, and let me not get lost in my little rants about my hate. That's the proper word for heat, for the heat, for warm weather, like people like to call it. How ironic. But again, you are witnessing a superpower that is now sending letters to all of their former allies and telling them you either align with our policies or we will consider to remove our assets from your countries. And what Mr. Trump fails to understand is this. Number one, the allies were already expecting that to happen. And number two, even if Mark Rutte from NATO gives a very nice speech and saying that the US is our allies, even if everyone here in Europe and in South Korea, which is the video that I'm going to show you, or Japan or whatever says, oh, yes, you are our allies, yes, yes, they will not align with your shit. No one is going to send any assets to fight illegal wars for you because number one, that is not the purpose of the alliance. It's not an offensive alliance. It's a defensive alliance. And number two, we don't want you, and we don't accept your bullying. Even if someone looks you dead face and says, "Oh yes, you are our ally. Yes, yes, we want to support you as the best as we can, but we will not ally." Anyone they will sign trade agreements with you and say, "Oh, you want to sell to us tariff free? Okay, no problem." You wanna know why? Because we are only buying from you what we need. What we don't need, you can try to sell it, but we won't buy it. I have talked about this in other videos, so this is nothing new to you. But imagine this: you own a supermarket, okay, and you have several goods to sell, and suddenly you put some goods on the shelf, and you tell your clients, "You are going to buy this." What are your clients going to tell you? Probably, they are going to look at you and say, "Dumbass, I'm not going to sweat. Go sit on a kite." Oh. Like this one is from a Brazilian friend, and I always laugh when he says this. He always says, "Go pile coconuts. You know, the fruit. Go pile coconuts on a steep slope." Okay, these are the. I love this answer. It always makes me laugh. But again, your clients, they are not going to do whatever you want them to do. They're going to do what is important to them, and and they need. And all of us know that the superpower is shrinking. All of us. Your enemies, your allies, everyone, the countries that are absolutely indifferent if you are there or not, they all know you are shrinking. And this has to do with your position of isolating yourselves. And this is something that first we are going to watch the video, and then I'm going to be talking a bit more about it. But there are some things that you need to come to grips with, okay? And that includes to understand what is happening around you. Because from what I listen from American YouTubers, they talk a lot about what is happening, but they don't seem to understand the wider scope of it. They pretend to know, and then they try to apply their own principles to their allies. At least, I don't pretend to know how South Korea will react to this. I don't pretend to know that. I can say, well, they will probably do this, but I'm not going to say it outright. Why? Because I'm not South Korean. I'm not getting up every morning in South Korea, having my breakfast and going to work and listening to the news and seeing people around me in society and knowing the politicians and knowing all the historic context and all of that. I'm not going to talk about it. If I wanted to have a clear copy-paste vision of South Korea, I would give myself the trouble, if it was needed for the video, I would do so. I have to confess, I took a look on South Korean news. Okay, but it's a bit harder because South Korean news in English, even with translators and all of that, it's a bit harder. It's easier to get news from Japan, honestly. This is just a small thing, but that is how you would know. But I do know, however, that they will probably react much as Europe is reacting. But first, let's watch the video and then let's talk a bit more about this topic of the shrinking superpower, the shrinking empire, if you want. I am very reluctant to call the United States empire because if it was an empire, it was a pretty lame empire. Okay, but let's watch it.
U.S. President Donald Trump ordered the Pentagon on Sunday to scale back annual joint military exercises with South Korea, citing Seoul's refusal to help with the war against Iran and his, quote, very good relationship with North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un. The 11 days of exercises involving 18,000 South Korean soldiers were designed to beef up readiness against North Korean threats. The exercises are one of two main combined drills conducted by the South Korean and U.S. militaries annually, along with their springtime training. Trump lambasted the drills as costly and, quote, totally inappropriate and hostile to Pyongyang, which he said has been unthreatening and respectful during the course of his presidencies. The Republican president also indicated that he had wanted to back out of the trainings altogether, but signaled that it was too late to do so. Trump noted that South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung replied no thanks to Washington's request for Seoul to join its war efforts to, quote, denuclearize Iran, though he labeled it as somewhat unrelated to the new measure. The move is a sharp turnaround from how his administration has viewed South Korea in recent months, with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth in May praising the longtime ally for its commitment to increasing defense spending. Trump has also previously sought to end the exercises in his first term following a meeting with Kim Jong-un in Singapore in 2018, calling the drills provocative back then.
Now, the first part of this video that I'm going to approach is for you Americans to think about this. I'm sure a lot of you in America have some relative, some person in your family or in your family history that fought in the Korean War. Someone that died for an ideology, the ideology that they used to tell you it was for the for fighting for freedom. And whatever considerations you have about it, people are certainly freer and more independent and more able to go around with their lives and speak out in South Korea than they are in North Korea. That is, I would call it one of the most perfect authoritarian regimes in the world. Okay? Sorry. Allergies, it's the heat. Again, anyone that knows me also is familiar with my allergies. It's not boogers, it's allergies. But that is the first thing I'm going to tell you. And the second one is this disgusting infatuation that the American president has with authoritarian figures. Usually, if we are going to talk about from a psychological, emotional perspective, you find these characteristics of men that are attracted. Look, and I'm not talking about any kind of sexual infatuation or whatever. It can happen, whatever. You're free to choose whatever you like, but I'm talking about the emotional connection. Usually, when you have men that have this kind of emotional connection to strong men, meaning they want to look appealing and friendly to men that are strong, that are ruthless, and that are direct. And whatever you can say about Kim Jong Il, I think it's Gil, Kim Jong Jun. I'm sorry if I'm offending any Korean person or not Korean person. I'm very sorry. I don't mean it. I just don't know how to enunciate his name. But Kim, let's call it like this. Okay, but whatever you want to say about Kim, the truth is this: he's ruthless, he's effective, and he's a dictator. This is the kind of person that did not hesitate to allegedly eliminate one of his brothers or half brothers and his uncle. So this is a person that really has nothing to do with the kind of values that the Americans say they defend. And whatever you think about it, I'm just talking about the plain facts. I'm not saying any lie. Go and watch a video, go and see, go investigate as you want, but that uncle and that brother they got rid of. If you are going to tell me, oh, it was someone else, whatever, my friends, please give me your opinion. But this all to say that this man, he has no morals, at least morals in the type of morals that we know, or ethics. He's the kind of person, Mr. Kim, that he only responds to one thing: strength. If you are stronger and you are able to fend him off, he will like you. So look, it's as simple that sometimes we complicate things too much. I would tell you even this. Even if we were able to pass, which I don't, and let me say from the beginning that I don't believe in this and I don't advise it to anyone, any country, except if it's absolutely needed. If you were able to go past, get past the despicable way of life that the citizens of North Korea have to exist in, which is a country of silenced people, of people that cannot speak a word against the government, people that have to obey absolutely to the state, you would be able to negotiate something with Kim Jong Il, with Mr. Kim. I don't want to misspell his name. Even if I don't like a person, I don't like to offend him by saying his name in an incorrect way. And I don't like him. I don't like his state, and I think it's absolutely disgusting the way the citizens of North Korea are treated. But again, if you were able, this is a person that you can negotiate with. You cannot trust him, but you can negotiate. And there were some good negotiations between the United States and North Korea. But what we have now is a president of the United States that is an ally and a apparent supporter of a democratic state in South Korea, defending that the northern state that is an absolutely disgusting dictatorship, that is clearly offensive, that is clearly belligerent, that is clearly looking for an excuse to attack, a breach in the defense to attack. Your ally. And to see an American president defending that because he had a temper tantrum, because South Korea, like the rest of the allies, told him, "No, we are not going to be involved in this aggression of the United States and Israel to Iran for your reasons, because we don't say if you want to, because look, and let's go back to the beginning of all of this so that you would understand. This war against Iran, it could happen legally. I know it's very hard to talk about legal wars because any normal human being will say, "All wars are illegal." Okay, but they happen. Look at what Russia is doing to Ukraine, the despicable offensive that they are doing, assassinating civilians, raping, pillaging, stealing land, and threatening the entire European continent. They are these disgusting little people, abhorrent little people. They are disgusting and I detest them. Okay, more and more I regress to what I was told when I was a little wee kid. I don't know. I think the first time I remember listening to this, must have been 4 years or 5 years old, preschool. Okay, which was something as simple as this: Vertrau Ivan niemals. Never trust Ivan. Never trust the Russians. And I don't. Like I said in the past, if there was a Russian person living or working here, I will not try to do any harm to that person. I will not even be uncivil to them, but I will keep them at bay. Safe distance. They in their corner, me in my corner. Sorry, but this is look, call it one a defect of mine. But let's continue. But you have this president that has, you saw in the video, he's not participating or reducing the participation in military drills that they are not just military drills. They are representations of power. They are projections of power. Poland, in their National Day just recently, they showed Russia what is waiting for them if they try any kind of fooling around in their borders. It's a way of showing power. It's a way of telling them, you see this big stick, cross the border, and I'm going to hit you in the face with it. This is what these exercises are, to a very basic, to a very human level. It sends a message. And the message that the United States has sent right now is this. Uh, we are not going to help you if North Korea invades you. And this, I am absolutely sure, is what the South Koreans are thinking. Because it's just a logical response. And I think American citizens really they see this as, oh, they focus on the tantrum. They focus, oh, Trump is doing this because he's very displeased with the South Koreans because they didn't come in his aid against the war in Iran and all of this. And they are losing. It's just like I keep telling you. This is why I have been making these videos and being so annoyed. They don't see the big picture. Some of them see it. I have said this over and over again, but one of the persons that clearly sees these things, maybe because he's a guy from working class like I am, a hillbilly, which I would probably be in the United States because I am from the sticks, so to speak. Okay, I'm a farm. I'm a person from a rural area. You know, I grew up with the countryside and farmlands and all of that. It is Josh from Eating the Cats. Josh, the truck driver guy. You show these news to him, and the guy, he will see right through it. He will see something as simple as this. And if any day, anytime, Josh watches one of my videos, my friend, here I am. Okay, the crazy guy that sometimes makes these weird comments on your videos. Hi. He would look at this and say, well, they are telling the North Koreans that they won't be in the South Korean side if war comes. And again, going back to the beginning of the video, now, I know, I know my rants sometimes are hard to follow, folks. I'm very sorry, but you know, I'm a bit hyperactive and crazy sometimes. All right, but I am trying to keep this clean, so to speak, keep this fluid. Going back to the beginning of the video of the part of the regressing superpower, this is a clear example. And I have this feeling that this is going to get even worse. In the Middle East right now, uh, American bases are basically disabled. The nearest base that has operational capability in of the region of the United States is Diego Garcia, the islands in the south. Go to Google Maps and see if you can find Diego Garcia. Oh, let me just maybe I will open Google right here. No, give them some advertising. Hello Google. But again, I don't blame Google for the crap. I blame the people that own them and the politicians that force them to act in a certain way. But let's look here in the map. Where is Diego Garcia? Oh God. Mm. Well, this way This way we will be able to see. Now, folks, I'm going to show you here, right here in the map. This is Google Maps, simple search that any of you in the United States can make and understand these things when I'm talking about it. You know, it's a good habit to check out things while we are talking about it. Now, I'm going to show you the British Ocean territory that for some reason is now blocked here, and then I'm going to show you how distant it is from the Middle East. But this is where the bombers that are bombing Iran, this is where they are departing from. Okay, they are not departing from the Middle East because they can't, because the bases don't have the operative capability to do so. Okay, let's watch the map. Now, as you can see, right here, you know, I'm sorry it's not showing me the islands. I have no idea why. If they blocked it recently, but this is the Chagos Island in Diego Garcia and all of that. So here, and this is the area in question. The Gulf of Oman, the Straits of Hormuz, the Persian Gulf. The United States used to have bases. They still have them all over here. Now they have bases in Israel over here. But all of the bases that the United States has here in Iraq and in Saudi Arabia, now all over here, other countries, you can please Google it or go and watch a video and see where they have. These bases are not technically capable of supporting this war. To a limited extent, of course, they are able to. Okay, I'm not being that simplistic, but I'm talking about heavy-duty bombing and strategic bombing and all of that. That strategic bombing, my friends, has to come all over from here. Do you understand this? And a lunatic wanted to use Spain and wanted to use, for example, Cyprus, okay, and Greece and all, and I think even Turkey, to bomb Iran. And all of these countries, Europe, here we are, here's my little country, here we are. All of these countries told Mr. Trump, no, we are not going to do that. This is an illegal war. Oh, they have weapons of mass destruction. Well, do you remember Iraq, where so many European and Canadian and Australian and New Zealander soldiers died? Where are the weapons of mass destruction that Iraq had? Sorry. Where are they? Tell me. Do you think? Do you have any idea how long has Mr. Netanyahu in Israel been calling for the weapons of mass destruction in Iran? And you want to know why? Let's look at the map right now. Let me tell you a little story. Because these people here, they want to exterminate, and they say it's not a genocide, but have you seen their new plan? They want to exterminate the people that live here in this stretch of land. They want to, in the future, also exterminate the ones that are here, or put them in a semi-ghetto status, just like what happened to the Jews in Poland during World War II. And now they are invading this country here, and they are also threatening and invading this country here, Syria and Lebanon, because they don't give a crap about international rule. And what they keep saying the same thing. There are terrorists here, they are bombing us. Okay. Instead of, for example, you know what happened to the UN forces that were here, instead of solving things in another way, and instead of ending this shit and following the true state rule and end this war tomorrow, they are doing this war. And the people here that are also not nice people, the Iranians, I'm not talking about the people, I don't know the people. From what I was told, they are nice person, they are nice people, they are educated, they are civil, they have a culture that is also old like Europe, older than ours, to be frank. But there are people with culture that know, that have something that the United States does not have, which is to have the weight of the centuries and of culture upon them, which is something a lot of people don't understand. For example, the simple fact that we use cutlery while we are eating instead of shoving food on our mouths like the Americans do, that is a sign of culture. But let's not get. But the people that are here, they are supporting the people that are here, and also here. Because the people that are here in Lebanon, let's go back to Lebanon again. The people that are here in Lebanon, the Palestinians, the Hamas, that are the Hamas terrorists or freedom fighters, whatever you want to call them, I just call them Hamas because they are also not nice people. Let's the people, nice people, don't kidnap and assassinate civilians. The people that are here, they were expelled by these people because since 1946 they have been occupying more and more land. And the solution that was found to end all of this was very simple. We cannot go back to the past. We cannot expel the people that are now living here. Okay, let's look at the facts, folks. Let's stop with the emotions. We cannot go back to the situation that was here before. So let's let these people have their own state here, independent of Israel, under conditions. And then the people that are here have been constantly, number one, they stopped the process. The settlers here in the West Bank and here in the Gaza Strip, they have been constantly harassing and taking over villages and land here. They are constantly doing it. See here? These are occupied lands. But they are not just doing it here. They did it in Jerusalem. They are doing it all over here. And now imagine this. You are already blocked in this land. Okay? Once you could live and work here in all of this land. Maybe your forefathers were born here. And now they are telling you, after all of this, look, let's make 2 states. You will have this piece of land and this piece of land. We will try to work out things here so that we that are living here now, we can have peace, and you can also have peace. This was the goal of the peace process. But you had people here that are the people that are now in power that know. You want to know what their goal is? Their goal, my friends, let's go there. Their goal is to occupy all of this and even up to Turkey. This is what the lunatics here want to do. And you want to convince me that perhaps this is good, perhaps this is their destiny as the elected people. And I will tell you this, I don't give a fuck about your religion. And now I'm going to swear. You are not an elected people. Even if you have a lot of Jewish people that own a lot of media, that own a lot of influence, that won't make this right. In fact, it will only damage Jewish people all over the world. Just recently, you had, like I reported in my stream this Saturday, You had a cruise ship of Jewish people, of Israeli people, let's call them Israeli people, that were trying to disembark here in Greece, and they said, "We don't want you here. Go fuck off. Go back to your land." And this has not been happening just here. It happens here. It happened in Italy, like I reported. It happened in Spain. It even happened here in Portugal. Okay, it's happening all over the world where Jewish people go. So the actions of this state is endangering Jewish people. I would argue, I would argue that the people that live here and that are doing this, knowing fully well what they are doing, they are the anti-Semites. They are hating themselves. Because you want to know something, I'm not going to get out of the map. We just because I think we should stay here and look at the map. I know something about Judaism. I know how things can be interpreted. I even gave myself the time to listen to rabbis talking about it. Not that I believe in it, not that it's important to me because I'm not Jewish, but when I want to understand something, I try to get it. And I discovered one simple thing. The lunatics that live here, the lunatics that live here in Iran, the lunatics that live here in the United States, and the lunatics that also live here in Europe and that support the lunatics that are here, they're absolutely the same shit. And this is something people need to understand. The lunatics that live here, they are the same as the other ones. And I know people talk about Zionists dominate this, Zionists dominate that. Yes, it's true. But I'm also very not willing to call automatically someone a Zionist because first I want to see their actions. I want to see what they are supporting. And I'm not going to suddenly say that all the Jewish persons that live in my country are Zionists because they are not. Because even I personally have met a few. And they were not Zionists. In fact, some of them had left their land of birth because they could not bear the indoctrination and the way that Palestinian people are portrayed here. And look, and I'm not saying that what Hamas did was good, because they are lunatics the same. They're all lunatics. And we, the world, we are entertaining this lunacy. We are all entertaining this lunacy. Because, my friends, how would you, and look, and now I'm talking to everyone, and I'm removing all bias, all preconceived ideas, all my own personal experience. I'm excluding everything. What would you call this country, bombing this country, apparently to get back some people that were kidnapped by terrorists that are living here and here and also here? Okay, what would you call the people that are doing that? What would you call what we see every day in the news of the Israeli settlers expelling and occupying land that was in the that was from of Palestinians, increasingly encroaching in their territory and expelling them more and more and doing and completely leveling up Gaza? All right, let's look at the land. All of this has been leveled. I don't know how near we can go because all of this is censored. But all of these areas people were living in it, and they all got leveled. All right. What would you call what happened? What is happening here? Okay. What would you call it? What did the Nazi Germans did in Europe? Yes, we are going to discuss that little word. You wanna let's go to Europe. Give me just a minute. Let's go back to the map. Let's go to Europe. All right. What did the Germans did in Poland when Poland was divided with the Soviets? The Soviets occupied more or less. It was a bit more than this because this part, this part of Poland, from Gdansk, that used to be called Danzig. Okay, this part of this was all Germany, but then the Soviets decided that they would occupy this piece of land, and including this one, Königsberg. They call it Kaliningrad, but I call it Königsberg because my great grandmother was baptized in the church here. What did the Nazi Germans did, and then what the Soviets did afterwards? They advanced here. They wanted to create their Lebensraum, their land to breathe in and to live in, and they came upon the areas where Jewish people lived, like Warsaw and Warsaw. In English, I think it's Warsaw. They came here and they rounded up all the Jews and they put them in separated areas from the rest of the Polish people. Ironically, the commander that was here in Poland, he tried to Germanize the Poles that lived in his area. Of course, after the war began to take the toll that it took, the plans of the Nazis all fell down and it all happened. But the Germans did this when they were invading Poland. They invaded Poland, they divided it with the Soviets, and then in the areas that they controlled, they put the Jewish people in ghettos. Here in Germany, they did not start they did not start by simply assassinating Jews in broad daylight. No, they started to issue laws that forbade Jewish people from doing certain trades that completely isolated them from society. And then later on, they stuck them in trains and they sent them to death camps. And here in the East, as they advanced, okay, they would simply use local people and also themselves to kill Jews, put them put them all in a little line, shoot them, assassinate them, literally, put them in ditches and burn the bodies down. Yes, this is brutal, but this is something that people need to hear because you need to listen to this. Then these lunatics here, they started advancing to the east. In many occasions, they also committed war crimes to the people that were living here. For example, they would arrive here. Oh, you were supporting the Nazi Germans, so let's have a party, and they would loot everything. Until they arrive, I'm not going to say where my family hometown was, but they arrived at somewhere here in my family's hometown. They looted it, they burned it, and they bulldozed it to make sure it did no longer exist in the map because they needed to be so. But if my great grandmother was baptized here, well, you can take a wild guess where more or less here my family's home was, if it was in German territory before the war. Right now, what do you have here? You have the Polish people here that lost all of the lands that they had in the east, because they were pushed by the Soviets. Poland also lost a lot. And you have all the German land that was lost for the Germans and given to the Poles. But you don't see Germany and Poland fighting it off. Germany to recover their lost lands, or Poland to get more lands, or Poland to attack the east and get the lands that they had in the east. You don't see that. Why? Because people came to an understanding. They understood it was useless to do this. It was much more clear to accept history as it is and not do what idiot number two around here, the Russian dwarf, is doing by attacking Ukraine, by trying to revive his little Soviet wet dream, which is actually what he is doing. This is what he is doing. You can call it whatever you want, but this is just the ambition of an old man to recreate a world that does not exist. And now, tell me again that what is happening here is not a genocide. Tell me again. Please. I want you to differentiate this. And I'm talking without bias. I'm talking about the crude facts. The crude facts, my friends. I'm not talking about the ideology. I'm not talking about the religious indoctrination. I'm not talking about anything except law, except cause and effect. If people are being assassinated here, this is the word that you have to use. I'm not talking about simply shooting at them. I'm talking about civilian casualties when you are in hot pursuit of the terrorists, like you call them, terrorists. I'm talking about people dying of hunger. I'm talking about people being dislocated from their homelands and having to live in camps in pitiful conditions, that you are even blocking the support, okay, or the people that are living here and that are being arrested by settlers that are literally expelling people from their lands and taking it over. And tell me this is not a genocide just because the people that are here are Jewish. Tell me. This is what is happening in this world. And the dying superpower that is supporting this state against this state. Because there are no saints here. Okay, let's start from the beginning, my friends. I'm going to repeat this ad nauseum because you have to understand that when I make this video, I'm not supporting no one. I'm just stating the facts. I'm giving my opinion, and I'm even offering solutions. Not that anyone will listen to me, and I'm not expecting anyone to listen to me. But if enough voices talk about this and do not let the focus on what is real to get out of our way, when we are focusing in the sitcom of the behavior of the President of the United States or in the speeches of Mr. Café here in Israel and playing and with his little moose and all of that shit. Because if we stop focusing on that, we are going to see the plain truth, the facts, the only thing that really matters. Because facts are the only thing that are going to construct reality. Illusions, they are not going to construct reality. They are going to construct an illusion of reality, and when reality comes knocking at your door, you'll feel it. Again, sorry my British friends, just like the British have discovered after Brexit. When reality came knocking down their doors, and delusions were erased. The retreating superpower had bases here, still has them, okay? Let's not muck around. But these bases, they are useless right now. And a lot of these countries, they're already making alliances themselves because they know the superpower is gone. South Korea, let's go to the map. The same thing here. This country here also already knows what is happening in the United States. This country, South Korea. And they are already making alliances with other allies in the same situation here. And here in Canada, in Europe, and even, let's go here and here. Because everyone here in this wide world already knows what is going to happen. You have this one here taking advantage to gain influence in business. China, that also has its own issues, population, internal strife, because you cannot keep people under the whip eternally. People will rebel. It's the nature of humanity. But they are taking advantage. These ones, they're also taking advantage of it. All right. And you have South America. You have this huge country here called Brazil. That is also taking advantage of it. And if you think that the lunatic that's right here in Argentina will last long, or that will not shift his position in a heartbeat to protect his own economy and his country in his ass, you are sadly mistaken. And now you have the superpower that is now concentrating in trying to harass their allies here, just like they are harassing and damaging their allies here. But this is a regressing superpower. And there is no power vacuum when a superpower regresses. And what happens, and what usually happens after all of this, is that simply the former allies, they unite and protect themselves. For a simple reason, my friends: self-preservation. In the case of Europe, this little monster here that is crumbling down, but that still has a lot of bite and that still can do a lot of damage. In the case of these ones, and of course, let's not forget Taiwan. Let's not forget Taiwan. That I really don't know how they are going to defend themselves. But whatever happens, they will not escape from a bigger influence of China in their own internal policies. Get ready for it. It's going to happen. But I don't think China, unlike other YouTubers, I don't think China wants to take Taiwan by force, because they know how that will make them look in the international world, in which they are trying to project an image of peace and stability. Yes, because you know what, I have a brain to think, and so should the people that are talking about that. When they start to say, "Oh, they are going to invade Taiwan," well, my friends, I'm not saying that might happen, not happen. It can happen. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow Xi is removed or replaced by someone, or he has a Putinesque or Trumpian attack, and he decides to do that. But if China does this, then they are going to lose their leverage here too, and here, and here. And they are going to lose their essential trade here. And if you don't know this, there's a railroad that will connect China all over. Oh, it costs here, these countries here and here and here, up to Turkey and up to Europe, that will take goods in 44 days. That's the optimal time they are talking about. In between the two blocks, it's the new Silk Road. They are not going to compromise this. They also don't want this little actor that they are completely dominating. Russia is China's bitch right now. And if you don't know this, well, you are not paying attention. But this little country here, they are falling behind in terms of population. They are going into an apocalyptic situation in terms of population. They were 140 millions, but in a couple of decades they will be, maybe with luck, 120 million people. While all of these countries, their population is growing. And I'm not talking about China. China is the least of their worries in terms of occupying their territories. China prefers to dominate them. China prefers, for example, to have a governor here in Yakutsk that is a part of the Russian glorious Federation, but that when Moscow tells something, they will consult with Beijing before they act. Or they want to have here in Chita, in Irkutsk, okay, in Novosibirsk, here they prefer to have someone there that will be willing to give Chinese companies the prime time of their goods and their resources, even their populations. They prefer much. Look, it's much better to dominate uh, with a decree or with money or with peace than to rule with a whip. Because when you rule with a whip, you are constantly getting tired of whipping down the ones that you are dominating. Just like the idiot in charge here is discovering. It's much harder to dominate with a whip than it is to dominate with a decree and with money. This is why I always say, we here, we know who this is, but we also know that we are going to have to trade with them. And I'm not saying that we should trust them. No. But if their economy is dependent on us, we have leverage. And then I hear American YouTubers talking about, oh, how the economies here are completely interwoven with our economies here and they cannot do nothing. When we have been for at least 2 years now doing exactly that. You want to know where the oil from Portugal and Spain comes from? It comes from North Africa. Most of our oil comes from here. You want to know what we are buying here? We are buying energy and weapons. Weapons into the NATO. The same NATO Mr. Trump continuously is trying to make weaker because it's a receding superpower. But as this superpower recedes, the first example was Finland. Because you want to know what? All of this is Finland. This is stolen land from Finland. But Finland is not talking about occupying the regions that Russia stole from them. They are not even talking about that. Maybe in the future they will, and I will not blame them. Because if you give yourself the time and the trouble to look a bit of history, you will understand how much Finland has suffered with Russia. But this little country here can kick the ass of this big country here in a matter of days. American YouTubers don't know this also. But the armies here can be here in hours, perhaps a day or two. And armies here, if they have the nuclear umbrella of here of that is being created by this actor here, that with all of his defects is one of the biggest defenders of Europe and of all Europeans, the French Republic, with all of these defects, with all of the troubles that they are having with the Muslim immigrants, with all of the issues they are having, you cannot say anything about the willingness of France to intervene in the defense of Europe. So shut up. I don't like the French much, and I have French blood. Ironic, I know. But there's one thing I will never say is badmouth them when they are defending Europe and they are defending all of us. And also you have the idiots here that voted for Brexit. Sorry, my friends. All of you that did not vote for it, I'm sorry. But that as the idiot here loses power, and they are losing power continuously, they will fall in line with the rest of us. And they have, and this I think is something that the British people should be proud of. They have been providing unwavering support to Ukraine. Weapons, military support, intelligence support, all of it. You cannot say one bad thing about the United Kingdom when they are supporting Ukraine. So, my friends, let's go back to the business. Now, the wavering superpower, that the only operative base that they have is here. The B something that are coming here to bomb Iran, they are coming from here. They don't have enough missiles to defend their bases. They don't have enough drones to defend their bases. They have ships here where their sailors are starving to death, literally, or trying to kill themselves, throwing themselves out of the ships. And this is not fake news. This is not something that is not being talked about. This is not Iranian propaganda, which I don't listen to. I don't even watch the Lego movies or anything of that. I try to keep myself in a non-biased position. But there's something I have to say also. I have a lot of respect for military people. Because whatever the cause a soldier is following, he is doing it because that soldier is defending their country. And you have to respect someone like that. And I respect him. My father, he was in the colonial war. I have family in the military. Okay? There is even a long tradition, on my father's side, the first the one of the parts of the family that is also German, ironically, they came here as mercenaries working for the kings of Portugal. So I have a long tradition of people in the military in my family. And I respect the military because of that. And because I have a brain to think. And this is something people have to understand. Americans, your sailors are here and they cannot do jack shit except dodge Iranian drones. All of your bases, they can bomb them. Iran can bomb them. Iran has been bombing them. You had to transfer soldiers to undisclosed areas because the Iranians were trying to get them. And I really don't believe in the number of casualties that the American government is reporting. And nor should you. And look, and I'm not saying that it's thousands of wounded or dead people or whatever. I'm not saying that, my friends. I'm just saying you have to, I cannot believe them. If they are lying about everything, why are they not lying about it? And also, let me tell you this. How are you going to invade this country? We are looking at the geology of the country. Let's take a closer look. This is what you call Carg Island. You want to occupy this island. And you are going to get bombed by all of these people. Look at the terrain. You know what this is? These are mountains and hills. You can, and the Iranians have been waiting for an American invasion since the inception, since their country was born and created. And this is why all normal military leaders of the United States said, we are not going to start a war with these guys. We are not going to enter in a direct military conflict with them. This is Hormuz. Once Portugal, for about I think 100 years or 200 years, we dominated this island because from here we could control the spice traffic that came from this area, and we could trade with all of this area. Do you understand this? Look at this slice of land, and now look at what is surrounding it. They can, and they bomb you. You cannot stop. The only way that traffic, ship traffic, normal traffic will resume in this area is if you have all of these people calm and letting trade pass. And you talk about, your president talks about a wall of steel. My friends, the ships, they continue to pass. The ships that they, Iranians, allow to pass. And look, this is simple truth. Your military presence here is meaningless. You cannot stop them. And even your little friend here is taking the heat. They were, however, more prepared for the heat than you were, because your president just from one of these bases, he sent in the airplanes and bombed Iran. Because he, in his infantile idea, he believed that all of his allies would join in and invade Iran, and the Europeans would send in their soldiers also to die for them in here. My friends, if this was a legitimate war, we would be side by side with the Americans to do what was needed to be done. But the issue here is, number one, NATO is not an offensive alliance. NATO is a defensive alliance. This means we only attack if we are attacked. And meanwhile, your little president is also trying to toy with this little area, with Greenland. And Greenland is a part, an autonomous part of Denmark. Denmark is a part of NATO. It is allied, it's a part of the Nordic Alliance or Council. It's allied with everyone in Europe, including this little country here, mine, that also has military alliances with this one, with the United Kingdom. It's the oldest military alliance in Europe with all of its issues, but one thing is for sure, if someone tries to attack the United Kingdom, we will be the first ones to send help, and vice versa, hopefully. And you have your president also threatening Canada. I want you to take things into perspective, because sometimes Americans, they tend to see the world just like in their backyard, but it's not their backyard. The world is a vast place, and everything, including geography, matters. one of the first consequences that you might have is that the country here will not allow you to go via road here. They can do it, and they will do it if it's needed. And if you think they don't have an army, and then if you think they don't have soldiers, then there is a lot of videos on YouTube that will tell you who the Canadians are and why you should fear them. But these people here, all they want is to have a peaceful relationship with you, to trade, to visit your country. And you have gone so far as to make your country an unsafe place for the people that live here in Canada or live here in Europe to come. My friends, I am a stereotypical European. You know, the kind of guy that gets red in the sun and purple in ice water. I am that kind of guy. And about 80 or 90% of the population in my country is the same. Some have darker complexion, but we are the same, okay? Because the people here, the people here, the people here, the people here, some people here, a lot of people here, and even more people here and here, we are all of Celtic origins. All these countries. The only difference is that Rome occupied us all here and a part here, and it didn't occupy the people here and here. That's the only difference. But if you go back to the bare genetics, you will find out, like I did, from a genetic study that was conducted a couple of years ago here in Portugal, that around, I think it was 91 or 89% of the population was of direct Celtic origin. You will find this out. The only difference is, of course, we had other influences, okay? We were even occupied by the Muslims that, by the way, according to the historic studies that were made, they didn't even they weren't even 3% of the total population. And unlike the lunatics that live around here and here, you know, the Islamic State and all of that shit, the mythical Muslim Spain, it never existed, because the majority of the people that live here, they were Christians. The only difference is that instead of being ruled by a Christian lord, they were ruled by a Muslim lord. Most of the people, they did not practice Islam. They were Christians. Because the people that were living here, they were more civilized than the lunatics up here in the north. And only when they became as despotic as the ones in the north, did the people that were here had enough leverage to liberate the regions in the south. And it was a liberation. This is how we have to call it. The Reconquista, it was a liberation movement. Here in my country, all of this region, minus the big, and also in Spain you will also find regions like this. This region was almost completely depopulated. You had a couple of centers of population, like the old cities, like for example Évora, which was a part of the Celtic, of the ones that were called the Celtici people that lived in this entire area here. These ones were Celts, much similar to the ones that you would find here in France. When the Romans arrived here, they called them Celtic. Then you have the Lusitani that occupied this region. You had the Kalaki that occupied the northern part here. And here in the south, you had a unique Iberian fabrication, which were the Coni, which were mixed between the populations that already existed here in the Celtic. And over here in the east, you have the Celtiberi that were mixed between Celtic and the Iberian populations that already existed here. A bit of a historic lesson, that a history lesson that might resound to some people that are interested in it. But my friends, I want to conclude this video, but I wanted to give you a perspective of the world, because you are too centered in what is lying here. You are not seeing the big picture. When the United States already lost, this is my opinion, the power projection that it had here, it will only have some kind of power projection here if Israel and the United States are able to negotiate some kind of the end of the aggressions and between each other and whatever, it will be the end of the war. And even so, the allies that are here, because they saw how useless the American umbrella was, they will replace it by something else. Or they will let the Americans keep their little bases, but they will do what Europe is doing, and that is a movement that will continue, which is to replace the American umbrella with a completely European NATO, or NATO 1.2. This is happening. This will not end. This will not end even if you put a democratic president here. The only thing a democratic president here can aspire to is to still have some kind of power projection here. But while this area is growing, despite all of the nonsense that has been portrayed in the media, especially the media that is originated here, this one is shrinking. You are going down, my friends. But look, I'm not one, let me just now focus on myself. I'm not some soothsayer or doom predictor saying you are going to fail, the falling empire. No, I'm not talking about this. I'm just talking with you about logic. I just showed you in the map. Let's go back to the map. Let's talk a bit. You had power projection here. You had power projection in Africa via the support that you were providing with US aid. You had power projection here. You know, you have the Five Eyes and all of that with, or I think it's Five Eyes it's called, but you have military agreements with Australia and New Zealand that you still have. Okay? You had Japan and South Korea here. More power projection. Okay? You had power projection here, the key area of the Middle East. And you had power projection here in Europe and also in Canada. Okay? The defense of the Arctic. Okay? No, there is no big ice wall here, my dear friends. There is just the Arctic Ocean. Okay? And you had power projection here. Now, you have a flimsy hold on Venezuela, which I really don't believe even exists, to be honest. I think it's more a question of you are paying someone off here or someone is paying you off here. You have your little friend here. All right. Your power projection here is completely disappearing. And pretty soon, you probably won't be able to maintain the base here in the Chagos Island. Maybe you will keep it because you will need some kind of power projection in the Indian Ocean. You are losing your power projection completely here in Australia and New Zealand, especially after what you did to their economies with the shit that you have been doing in the Hormuz Strait and the way that you have been treating and talking about Australians and New Zealanders. You are definitely going to lose your power projection here. You will find that these two actors here, they are very resourceful in finding ways of defending themselves. And finally, the jewel in the crown. Europe. You have already lost Europe. And you can continue to blackmail. We are going to continue to have this little spiel in the news. We are going to continue to have this back and forward of everything that is happening, but it's lost to you. We here, we are never going to trust you again in the same way. You will continue to have normal relationships, my friend. Oh, look at Cuba that your little Marco Rubio wants. Well, good luck in getting it. Like if the Cuban people were not able to send the Americans back to their little homes, you know. Remember the Bay of Pigs? Remember that? I do, because I read some history. Now, let's go back. The title of this video says it all. But I tried to give you a perspective of the world. Because when we are talking about these things, we should roll up a map of the world and see things as they are. These power projections were designed to keep, there I go to the map again, to keep, oops, sorry about that, folks, to keep your homeland safe. Okay? But the truth is, your president has been able, in 2 years, of doing a lot of things. He ended the paradigm of the military industrial complex of the United States that was supplying all of those European countries. You ended that paradigm, and you ended the paradigm of the defense of the Middle East. Why? Ask them. Ask them all why they did it. They did it. But in that regards, I would say follow the money trail. Who is getting money out of this? When you find the persons that are earning money out of this, that are getting rich, like for example your president, that apparently, this is allegedly, I don't know, you tell me, has got awfully rich after he became the president of the United States. His sons, daughters, son-in-law, all of his family, they have grown really, really rich. His friends, the people that support him, all of them, really getting rich. I would see where the money is going, my friends. And there lies your answer. Well, this video has gone for a while. I'm sorry. I hope you like it, and I want your opinions. Please drop it in the comment section. Tell me what you think about it. Bet if YouTube doesn't shadow ban my videos, as always, because whenever you talk about things like the Middle East or the United States or whatever, now they seem to have this habit of trying to shadow banning videos. And I'm not complaining, okay? I have no reason to complain. I'm not monetized. I'm not earning a penny euro with this, okay? I'm just talking because I think it's important for us to talk, to think. Again, like I say in my video description, okay? This is just us talking. These are my opinions. But I think I'm being clear, and I'm saying a couple of things that people really should think about. Again, this is the guy, you know, we are sitting in stereotypic Europe in a piazza, okay? We are sitting at the table. We are having a nice espresso, and we are watching the world pass by. And meanwhile, we are talking. This is what we are doing here. I know this is a monologue, of course, but this is what I'm trying to give you here. A talk for you to think about these things. And this part of the power projection is very important. And I see, again, I'm going to repeat this. I'm sorry, but this really annoys me. I keep seeing them talking about these things. And they are talking like if the factors that dictate the way they are talking about things are no longer there. You cannot base your opinion on something that is no longer there. If you cannot defend your bases in the Middle East, if you cannot use them effectively, I'm not saying that you are not using them occasionally, okay? But if you cannot defend them effectively for military purposes, then you don't have that power projection. And you should shut up about it. You should say, we don't have it. Because this is the proper way of saying, of talking about things. And you cannot say Europe will do this or Europe will do that when we are seeing Europe doing the opposite. You cannot say, oh, they want our soldiers to stay there. No, what they are saying is this will erode the trust on the United States in the alliance. They are not saying that if tomorrow you remove 5,000 soldiers from one of your bases, that they will not be replaced by 5,000 soldiers of other nationalities in the NATO alliance. No one is saying that. We are saying this erodes the trust, the reputation of the alliance. And this is a fundamental truth that people don't seem to understand, that people should understand. Again, I will repeat this because this is very important, and apparently I did not hear this in any of the channels of American YouTubers. At least when it happened. Germany has deployed a brigade of 5,000 soldiers to the Baltic states. And there are plans to deploy more. There are deployed forces in Finland. Sweden deployed forces. Romania. We are doing it all. And you don't talk about it. This is like, for example, you would have a castle being defended by, oh, look, I'll give you this example. When the Romans abandoned what is today Romania, that was then Dacia, I don't know the English names, okay? I know the Portuguese and Latin names. But when the Romans abandoned Dacia, they had built this amazing assortment of castles and defenses to defend the Greece and defend all of that from the barbarian invasions. And they abandoned it because they apparently they did not have enough means to defend it, and they gave it to an ally barbarian people. And that barbarian people occupied that land. And for a while, everything was alright. Later, Rome had no influence or power in that region. Why? Because it had been replaced by then the successive waves of people that invaded that area and that occupied it, until today we have the people that live there. And that they are still, look at the name of the country, Romania. You know where that comes from. And even the language. The language is a Latin language. And if you hear it really closely, even if you are Portuguese, if you listen to it very closely, very carefully, you can understand. Because it has the basics and roots. Yeah. But another little historic episode for you to consider. Shout out to Romania. You guys, you are nice people. Now, folks, I'm going to end this stream. I thank you all on stream. It was to be a stream, but I decided to make a video because I'm a bit tired and I just decided to make a video today and publish. Thank you very much for watching my videos, for commenting, for subscribing to my channel. It really picks me up, you know. It lets me know that some people are listening to me, some people like what I say, some people comment and criticize me, and that's all right, okay? Unless you are insulting me, it's all right. You can criticize. But I would ask you to take not with a grain of salt, but with a ton of salt, all of these reports by American YouTubers. There are Democrats, I know. I know they mean well. I know they want vote blue, vote blue. And look, if you are an American, I will tell you this: vote for the Democrats. This is my honest opinion. You need to vote for them. If you hope, if you want your country to at least regain a bit of normalcy, you will need to vote for the Democrats. But don't expect things to go back to the way they were. And I don't mean don't expect things to go back to in a couple of years or whatever. You will have to endure this. No, I'm talking about forever. Things will never be the same. And it's okay. Change is inevitable in everything in the world. We don't accept it. And I'm a human just like anyone else. But change is inevitable. One of the things that I learned in German paganism is this: the wheel keeps on turning. The wheel always turns. We are just in it for now. Sooner or later, we are gone. And all that remains is what we said and what we did. The rest, how much money you had or whatever, that will be forgotten. But what you said won't. Now, thank you, folks, for coming to watch me, for commenting again, and for being here. And I always thank people because I think it's polite, and you should. Say thank you, okay? Say hello. Even if no one answers you, you say hello. You say good morning. You say good afternoon. That is civilization. Folks, thank you all for listening to me, and I hope to catch you all in the next one.